Hello and welcome to another episode of the Never a Straight Answer podcast, Midweek Extra, the podcast we put out midweek because we're just kind of nice like that. Yeah. And this time we're on the campaign trail.
We are.
Campaign trail with Trump 2020.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. For the next couple of weeks, the R Extras are going to be, we're getting people in.
Yeah.
Talk about what their opinions of the politics.
Yeah, the brilliant
angle.
And how
shit going down.
Yeah.
Well,
there's a lot of shit going down, definitely.
Well, this week, we're joined a bit later on with Russ from the Infectious podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Who's going to be coming in, talk about politics, talk about America, the election, and the man himself, fucking Mr. Trump.
Yes.
I'm not going to call him President Trump. I'm going to call him Trump.
Yeah, I don't mind.
Well, yeah.
I don't care if he minds or not, but I don't mind.
Well, why do you not mind? I mean, in terms of this week, has just been an absolute lemon, in my opinion. But we're going to talk about that.
We will.
And joining us today in the studio, it's Ross from the Infectious podcast. Welcome to the show.
Hey, welcome, Ross.
Hello. Good to be here.
How's it going?
It's going. We're, weather's getting colder here in Detroit, and Detroit is located in the U.S. Ergo, we're usually on harder times than the rest of the nation, or the rest of the world. Yeah. But
well, fucking hell, mate. We're from Manchester ghettos, mate. So don't worry about it.
Absolutely,
right.
And it's the weather here is absolutely crap as well. To be honest, it's been cold the last couple of days. Yeah. And you definitely notice the winter coming in.
Oh, yeah.
So everyone's just...
All right, well, we can all be miserable together now.
Hey, yeah, but that's it, though. I find people who come from, these miserable cities are, proper...
More chirpier, more...
Proper, really happy people, generally speaking.
Yeah.
I read an interview with, or it might have been a video interview anyways. I saw an interview with Prince one time, and somebody said... Why have you stayed in Minneapolis your whole life? You're a millionaire. You could move to so many different places. And he said, because Minneapolis is so cold, it keeps the bad people out.
He's from Minnesota, isn't he, Prince?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, in Minneapolis. Yeah. I was, I think, the way the states is at the moment. Do you think there's a lot of states that are kind of ignored or not kind of
big on the platform?
Yeah, they kind of just...
Yeah, because you get the Washingtons, New Yorks, the California,
There's a lot of states that people... do you think there's a lot of states that people forget about? Because somebody turned around today and said, on Twitter, they said, is it Long Island? They keep getting it mixed up with Rhode Island, or Rhode Island mixed up with Long Island. And I was just like... Yeah. I'm not even from the US, and I kind of know that, that's totally different places. Yeah. So,
Yeah. Well, the U.S. Education system really isn't known to be all that great either. So there's probably a whole lot of states that people in the U.S. can't even name.
To be honest, it's not so good here either, to be honest. It's you could go out and poll people in the streets and general knowledge questions and guaranteed they'll just be like, what the fuck, with some of the answers.
Yeah, especially during an election year, because all the candidate, they only care about so many of the big states with how many electoral votes they have and all that stuff. And so you end up with really the focus for almost the whole last year of the election being 4 states. Yeah. And then, you barely hear about anything else going on at all. So
I was going to say about the election, and, I don't know if you managed to catch the presidential debate last week. Personally, to be honest, it's been one of those sort of periods where I'll watch the news for quite a long time, and then for a few days a week I'll just ignore it because it just gets to the point where I just can't be bothered with it. And I was coming to the end of one of those weeks, and I thought there's 2 bits of news that I really need to check out, and one was the Boris Johnson announcement where they were changing some restrictions here in the UK. But the other was the presidential debate, and it just seemed to be you love Trump, so
he's the man for me.
You think he's the man, but did you not at any point look at that and say, "Oh my God, this guy's an absolute bully"? And
no, I won't go that far. He was back in his corner. He was ruthless as well on hitting back, but he was back in his corner, and he's known to be that kind of guy. I'm the man in the room.
He's got an ego, hasn't he? He's got a big ego.
But look where it's got him. I was just listening today about something about him, how he, the positivity. He was reading a book that.
Do you not think he uses sort of like? Do you not think he uses like sleazy 80s business practices?
Who doesn't? Who doesn't? The ones because most of them hide it. At least he's up front with it.
I mean, this is a man who I keep having to remind Taylor that Trump's not our president.
I wish he was.
Right.
Mind you, I like Boris as well, man. You know what I mean? Boris is the man. He's the man at the moment.
Now, I find from here in the U.S., I find that Trump is popular with two different types of people, either very, very, very rich Americans or everyone else outside our country who's just entertained by him.
See, do you, but this is the majority don't really like him that much because from where I stand from and what I've heard is like he's built the economy up, he's helped more Black Americans and like Mexicans. He's done certain things and he's built the economy up. And it was only because of the COVID that's actually brought it back down, even though the country's in, I don't know.
Yeah, I actually seen an interview where he said that. He said, oh, well, I was doing well until COVID hit. And it's like, everybody could say that. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? It's like, well, at the end of the day, I think, I mean, you live in the States. I mean, you've seen it firsthand in terms of how this crisis was handled, you know. I mean, personally, from my side of the pond, I think it could have been handled a lot quicker, from Boris's side. But I do see a reflection in how this was handled both in England and the States. It seemed to be kind of like, well, it's not going to get here. Yeah. It's not going to get here. Yeah. Oh, shit, it's here. Yeah. What do we do now? And then everything was like, we're going to put this restriction in, but it'll be on a week on Tuesday. So, we'll put this restriction in today because it needs to be put in. It'll be, we're planning on doing this. It'll be in about 2 weeks' time. Just make sure you're prepared for it. And it's like, well, if it's that important, do it today.
Yeah, but the thing is, when a politician gets into the top, like president or prime minister, they're only looking for the next 4 terms. They're looking for them 4 years, 5 years. They don't care afterwards because the consequences afterwards.
Should do because they're looking for a re-election, aren't they? Especially like Trump.
Like all the kind of business deals that have gone wrong. They don't get.
Ross, what did you think of the debate overall? I mean, firstly, what side are you kind of leaning towards? I mean. It always kind of reminds me of that South Park episode. It's like, who do you vote for between a douche and a turd sandwich? Yeah. Do you know?
Right. And see, and that's the thing is, me personally, I'm not a fan of Donald Trump for. I mean, it bleeds into the politics, but more just from a human rights standpoint. I didn't like ignorant bullies when I was in elementary school and junior high and high school, and I don't like them now.
Yes, exactly.
But I will say that, and I've said this to my wife at least 20 times since the debate. I say it to my friends, even though it's incredibly unpopular with them. The Democrats could not have picked a worse candidate to go against Donald Trump than Joe Biden.
He's incredibly meek, isn't he, when it comes to standing up for, his party.
I mean, before you even worry about his performance in the debate or anything, I mean, there's just wildly questionable things. I mean, you have to remember that people spent a year before Trump got elected and the 4 years since talking about his past with women and the way he treats women. Joe Biden's not even close to an angel.
I've seen some of the
imagine
films and all that.
What's that?
The thing is with I mean, from I think the rest of the world's perspective, it's when you get people like Donald Trump who get elected, and I mean maybe he was elected because people thought, go on then, it's Donald Trump, it'd be quite funny to see what he does, and that's why he's got in, but. When you've got the next move is like people like Kanye West jumping and throwing their hat in. It's almost like when does the political system become
Well, anyone
an entertainment.
Anyone can go for that position. It's just having the power and the money to
like
follow
the ultimate influencer.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? And it's like,
I will tell you for a fact, I know people who, to tell you how hard you hit the nail on the head, I know of people absolutely voted for Trump as a joke.
Yeah.
To be like, oh, that'll be hilarious. Let's see what happens. Well, it's not hilarious.
No, it's not now. Yeah. Well, this is it, isn't it? And like, you know,
for people in the opposition, it's sure as hell not. Yeah. And you have that, and then again with I quote, there's that TV show, the Newsroom, that was on HBO, and in the opening credits to that, the main character Will McAvoy says, "If liberals are so awesome, then why do they lose? Or if liberals are so star-spangled awesome, then why do they lose so goddamn always?"
Yeah,
and
right.
This is why if the Democrats are in the fight of their life, then why on God's green earth is Joe Biden the guy that's going to represent them?
Yeah. That it was just that's because I heard that they've done it deliberately. But why would you do it deliberately? Even if it was the thing, but why would you lose what you want to try and gain? You know what I mean? And the thing is, the thing I like about Trump, it was from the start, was that the first time I ever seen a head of a country that's actually got the paperwork on the bloody table, doing it there and then. He actually, he says what he says what he was going to do, and he's been doing
but
it.
It's just the fact that in my opinion, he seems very arrogant.
Yeah,
right?
I agree with you. He's a bit of a
the things he
says.
It's the opinions he has towards women. It's the company he keeps. Which has been proven. And photographs have been taken in with some very kind of dodgy people.
Businessmen.
Right? Now, I'm not being funny. I'm not being funny, Taylor. Yeah, right. Yeah. But if that was any other celebrity, right?
Yeah.
You'd be like, fucking knew it. I knew that was, I knew he was dodgy. I don't like him anymore.
I would
for some
look
reason,
on the sideline, possibly.
What makes Trump so special that...
Because he was a doer. That's what got me, because he was a doer. I've heard so many politicians say stuff.
I know of two people like that I regularly associate with that are absolute Trump supporters, and they both of them say exactly the same thing you do. Yeah. They say, "Well, I don't care what he said about women, and I don't care what CNN ran about him. Like, he gets things done."
Yeah, and that's what you want.
What their whole argument is.
Yeah, and that's and like I said, I've never ever seen another politician do that.
Right, okay, so it's getting things done, but it's like when you have...
That's what the job is.
You're saying, right, he gets things done,
yeah.
Right? So what else is he getting done, that you don't know about?
Like all the other ones that have been there before?
No, I don't know. I mean, I don't...
At least all the dares are in the closet, or at least
what is are all on the table.
Forward, yeah. No one, no man, woman, or child is perfect on this earth. You know what I mean? We all make mistakes. We all say.
Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying
he was a doer. That's the thing. He's a doer. He's
I just think basically, right. And I've said this before. If you've read Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, right, he reminds me of Zaphod. Right, and in the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, there's the president of the universe. He's put there because he's the most ridiculous candidate, and he's put there by somebody else, by the people who were actually pulling the strings. So while this guy's off being a media fucking puppet and getting in all types of trouble with the newspapers,
I don't think anyone's pulling these.
The other things are going on behind closed doors.
Yeah,
well, how do you know?
Do you think there are people who are pulling strings behind him? They might.
Well, no, but that's the thing. But how do you know he's? I mean, the guy's a shrewd businessman. Like you say, he gets things done. How do you know he's not trying to? When he comes out of being the president,
he's going to benefit.
There's going to be a lot of benefits for him. The fact that he even said it on the debate about how he manages to pay less tax because of a policy put in by Obama's administration that. Allowed him to pay less tax, and he basically said, and what? It was you who put it in the first place, and I'm taking advantage of it.
That's it.
And that's the type of guy he is. He takes advantage of situations, and
Power.
See, and that's the thing. That's the Americans that like Trump. That, like I say, the rich people, the rich Americans that like Trump are like, yeah, that's how I got rich.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're like, yeah, like this guy's great. He's doing, my thing is, I understand that it's very hard for the cross section of human rights and business to cross section to cross each other, and I get that.
Oh, you're breaking up a little bit there, man.
When you get this guy. Well, you got me? Am I good?
Yeah, we're good. Yeah.
Okay. When you get this guy on the debate the other night where he said that he, when they want him to denounce white supremacy, and not only does he not do that, but then he tells the Proud Boys to stand by and or stand down and stand by. Like,
I gotta agree with you on that one.
Yeah, it's almost inciting civil war, mate. It's like you basically say, because he turned around and was saying, "Oh yeah, well I'm all for these organisations who are radical for me because they love me," and it's like, well, wait a minute, just because they love you, that's okay. Then you're allowed to go ahead and be basically a vigilante,
but that's numbers,
right?
It's the same as what
and because you're pro-Trump, so if you're pro-government,
on the national stage.
Yeah, well, that's what he said.
That's more or less what he said on the national stage. If you were in one of those groups, I'm sorry, go ahead. I was talking.
No, you're right. Yeah, no, go for it.
Sorry about that. I got a little bit of
I think the weather's hitting.
Anyways, if you're in one of those, more or less told me that if we don't win, then we go into action. And you just can't say that to, like factions in the U.S. It's got to be, hey, this is the system. If we win, we win. If we lose, we lose.
We don't give you the option to rise up if you don't get
on
your
national
own way.
television and told,
So that's one thing. He's inciting sort of like, if Trump doesn't get his own way during the election, then these factions of protesters who are pro-Trump can go and run rampant. It's almost saying that you can be in a hate group, but as long as you don't hate me.
Well, I think he's refusing the answer, but he's in a position where he really has to answer, if you know what I mean. He needs to answer either that way or that way.
Do you not think his actions... Right, okay, you say he's a doer.
Yeah.
But do you not think a lot of what his actions and the way he kind of puts himself across, it's a bit almost like dictatorship? I'll wash my... if the media... He doesn't like what the media is saying, he'll kick him out of the thingy, out of the room. He hires... He said on many occasions that he hires people who are less smarter than him. Yeah, because he wants to be the smartest person in the room. So he surrounds himself by idiots.
Yeah, and he sacks a lot
and
of people.
And if he's the smartest person in the room, then I'm worried, mate, because, he's not...
Yeah, but he hasn't got to where he's got without doing that kind of stuff, and it seems to have worked. He's got a process, mate. It's worked, and he's
right.
Not
okay,
let
right.
it off,
okay.
is he, really?
In a business sense, I'll agree with you. Yeah. But in the same way, if I'm a businessman and I've gone to, I'm quite successful and I've gone under and have been bankrupt. Yeah. However many times, right?
Apparently, you're not a businessman in America.
Right, okay. Yeah, but but all right then. So, how do you know that he's not going to make similar mistakes running a country? It's a bit different, but at the end of the day, if he's bankrupt his own company a number of times, how do you know that a decision he makes here isn't the right decision?
Oh, come on. With the crisis of 2008 and all the messing about with that. I mean, you were at, I think it was 4 trillion before Trump comes in that you were in debt. And actually, it had to be more because I think now it's 24, is it? 24 trillion you're in debt?
I don't know, it's probably more, not as much as us.
It's probably more than that. Well, we're 2 trillion in debt.
Yeah.
So, I mean...
And it's a debt that realistically you can't get out of.
Well, no, we're in the same boat, though.
Here's one point I want to interject is whether or not Trump was a successful business person before becoming the U.S. Let's say that he was, every business he ever had was super successful. Like, let's not even say he bankrupted this company or that company. Yeah. part of what made him a successful businessman was that whole keep you guessing bit where no one really knows where he's going to go and whatever, because that's how you become successful in business, is keeping people guessing and always staying ahead of the curve. But you can't run a country with that same strategy. Like, running America is quite different than running a successful business inside of America. And that's where I think that. But that's where I think he's having a disconnect.
I understand that's why people probably liked him at the beginning, because he wasn't a politician. He was like, like you say, I say there was a percentage of people who probably voted him for a joke, people who voted for him for a change, and thought, all right, then we'll take the politicians out of it and we'll put Trump in. Trump's a politician. He talks like one, in my opinion. Do you know what I mean? He's very good at brushing off questions he doesn't like. Yeah. He acts like a politician. Do you know?
He's getting there. But the parts of the business that he's and the empire that he's built up can be used for the country. But I do agree that there are a number of parts of it that he needs to sit down and be told, you're going to have to do it this way.
I've got a question for you. Right. Do you think that this whole health scare that he's had is potentially a publicity stunt to try and get votes or a bit of poll numbers or anything like that?
I think he's hiding.
I don't know. If anything, I was going into this because he announced that he was had it Thursday or Friday. If anything, I thought that it was going to be a way to chuck and jive out of two more debates.
A couple of debates.
Like, he's so sick he can't do the debates. Like, I didn't think. But then today he's already released from the hospital and driving around and doing his Superman act. Like, COVID didn't beat me. I'm the greatest thing in the world. So so I don't even know what to think. Like, if there was a plan for this to have a much bigger impact, it sure was going to take more than a couple of weekend days to make an impact.
That's it, isn't it? Because it seems like the time frame of it all kind of seems a bit too quick. When Boris Johnson was off, he was out for a couple of weeks.
He's still not
and he's still a bit kind of like PK. Yeah. I kind of felt like if he did, there's been test results that have come back positive, and they've actually they've tested them again and it's been negative. So I'm wondering maybe if it's been something like that, or, because obviously you would have think like Joe Biden might have been affected as well.
They're waiting for Tuesday, because Tuesday apparently.
If I were to guess, with him going in the hospital and coming out so fast, my only guess is because as we talked about earlier in the episode, America was very slow to react. Yeah. Trump has been very, very, very given a lot of pushback to all of, like, our governor here in Michigan, who he has been very vocal about, you're overreacting, you're locking too much down. My only guess is the end game on this is to go like, look, I'm elderly and I had COVID and I kicked its ass. So it's not that big a deal. That's my only guess at this point.
He's saying now, when he goes like, now I understand. Which now I've got it. Now I understand where everyone else comes from, and it's that to me is
so
just
he's
like,
kind of being like
it's a bit of a dumb move to just say that.
Yeah, this is the thing. It's like this is the thing, you mean. A lot of his moves are dumb moves. It's just like for a so-called smart man, it's almost like, well, your actions don't bear out what you're saying. I think he jumps the gun a lot on Twitter and in the media. I just think
that's just his opinion right there and then, though, isn't it? You know what I mean?
Well, yeah.
Even though he's
so
really. Go on.
I wanted to touch on this earlier, and you just said that. I think Trump says a ton of stuff that he doesn't even remotely mean. I think he just says what he thinks people want to hear.
Do you think that's what it is that he want? That he's trying to please everybody by kind of saying like stuff like, there's no pandemic or whatever, or any of the tweets he comes out with.
Don't forget, if you scare the people of the country, it also hits the financials in the markets. So the markets will go down.
He's trying to protect the economy. I understand that he's trying to thingy. It's the same way they don't release a lot of information to the public.
He didn't
because
leak, he just
if
took
they did,
steps, which was wrong.
People panic buy. They go out fucking buying up fuel and all the rest of it, and it's like, by I understand that, and I understand that you'd have to be tactful, but that's one thing that he doesn't have. He doesn't have the necessary tactile skills.
But he's not there to be tactful. He's there to do.
That's for damn sure. The man possesses zero tact.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't understand how to. And again, I think he does that because he's speaking to his supporters. Like, I don't think him, with his reaction to COVID, he ever wanted to gain more supporters. I think he wanted the supporters he had to dig in.
Yeah, because he was quite high,
and that's what they've done.
In the polls, he was high. It was only after the COVID that it's slightly going down, and now Biden seems to be like above him, and it seems to be he needs to catch up. So why would you go away at this moment in time when he needs to be out there? And
I would say this, though. One thing I have noticed on the news, it's like, if you are a diehard Trump supporter, no matter what you say, they have a comeback.
No, but I'm coming across what I'm seeing and what I've heard.
So there was a thing on the news the other day which actually really made me chuckle, right? Because he was one of Trump's advisors. It was when, like, he'd just gone into hospital, and they were talking about the situation, and somebody said karma, and the Trump person was all like, that's disgusting. I'll assure you that at every Trump rally, everyone's wearing a mask. There's sanitizer being handed around, and literally, quick as anything, whoever was on the back switch operating, putting the graphics up or anything like that, quick as a flash, put up a picture of a Trump rally with literally one guy wearing a mask, and it was like, it just popped up on the screen and went away, like, within an instant, and I was like, someone in the back, in the production team needs a pay rise, because that was just quick, But it just kind of goes to show you that, like, this guy's saying, I swear I've been to all of his rallies, I can assure you this, that, and the other. And then this evidence is there in everyone's face, that this isn't the case. I'd say that he does put himself into a lot of positions where he is subjected to kind of maybe catch the virus. I'm not surprised he's caught it, if he has caught it. Yeah.
I'm really surprised he didn't catch it any earlier, to be honest.
But somebody said on the news earlier about, like, world leaders. It seems like all the world leaders have contracted it at some point or not, COVID.
But it's weeks after this problem. Like I said, Boris is still...
Because they meet a lot of people.
Not that.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So, what are your predictions for the way it's going to go then for the election? I mean, what are your hopes? What do you think?
Well, I mean, truth be told, my overall stance, just from a human rights standpoint, is anybody but Trump. So I guess that ends up with me hoping that Biden wins, although I just, no one I know who is voting for Biden wants to vote for Biden. They just don't want to vote for Trump. So,
how come it's always a two-horse race?
How it's going to go? I do think this is going to be the first. What's that?
How come it's always a two-horse race in the States? We have a few different, smaller parties running. Even we have some comedy parties running just for, to make it lighthearted.
Yeah.
But then, I don't understand
the Libertarian
why it's
Party is the closest that ever comes to getting it really seriously thought of as third on the ticket, and it just never happens. There's always some setbacks, like they always have somebody when they're, like, for example, the last two times that Obama ran, everyone knew Obama was going to run away with the election, and so there was the third party never even really got there, and the last big libertarian person to make news at all, I want to say it was Rand Paul, and most of what he got run in the press was Rand Paul said something crazy again. So it's just the third party never gets taken seriously at all. Is why there's always just the two.
Yeah, it's a shame, isn't it? I think it is time.
I think it's time that third and fourth party come actually up and with like a proper decent party. You know what I mean? They've got So all three of them have spend the certain amount of money.
Well, we're in the same boat here, aren't we? Really, we're in the same situation in the UK where it's Labour or Conservative. Lib Dem is the Liberal Democrats are the third party who never get in. And I think we're all sick of voting for the same disappointments. And I think it is time that a new fresh party comes in with new ideas and a new way of doing things. But it's the people in power who sway the vote and put the money in. So you'll always find that the bigger parties will be there because they've got the funds and the backing and the support.
They've always got their dodgy fund in the background. Every single one of them would have a dodgy fund.
Well, this is it, because it's a party, isn't it? So that party elects a candidate for the White House. At the end of the day, that party must be trying to have an objective. And then they put their party leader in front, don't they? So I mean, it's why choose somebody?
Because they wanted to beat Hillary, and I would have thought if Hillary would have won, I would have thought it would have been World War III by now. Would you have voted for Hillary over Trump? By the way.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You would have voted for Hillary.
And again, coming into that election, my big thing was the human rights aspect of it. Just seeing the way Trump talked to and about women and minorities. I was just I don't care what this guy's done before. Well,
yeah, exactly. Because this is it. If this is on what he's talking about on his campaign trail, where's he going to go when he's in actual power? And I mean,
right.
Well, this is it. I mean, people talk about brokering treaties and stuff like that with places like Korea and Russia. Yeah. I mean, do you not think it's kind of
it's open Korea up.
Well, it just seems like again, this is from my conspiratorial sort of mind. Okay. It seems like it's not.
Probably got a deal going on there.
That's what I'm saying. There's probably deals going on there that make it beneficial to him personally. Yeah. It's not a case of that he's brokered a peace treaty with anyone.
Yeah, but anyone who stands at the top of their foundation is going to have that greed because they've got that much power. Then it starts taking over, and you'll want more, and you'll want more, and
that's it, isn't it?
I can do
absolute
power I want.
Corrupt, absolutely.
Yeah, it does.
As his saying goes.
Yeah. So true, man.
Well, this is it actually, because I saw an interview with Trump talking about The Apprentice. And he was saying, if I did this and I'd have to give up doing The Apprentice, which is the most popular show in the world, and I'd have to give that up, and I don't know if I could do that. Yeah, and that was The Apprentice. Yeah, and this is what he was talking about, saying if I became the president, I'd have to give this up, and that thrust him into a spotlight, if you like, and people kind of started taking more notice of him. He became more famous.
Yeah.
Pardon me. In terms of what the presidency has done for him and his ego, it's do you really think he wants to give that up?
Well, exactly. That's why he wants to win another term. So why, in a sort of way I do think there's a lot of other stuff that we don't know about that's going on in the background.
What would change your mind about him?
About Trump?
Yeah.
I don't know if he...
Because you're a big fan, man. We've talked about him a number of times on the show, and normally I don't entertain you. I go, no, I don't want to talk about him.
That's true. That's true.
But we were giving you an open forum here now. So what would actually dissuade you against him?
Don't get me wrong. Yeah, if he started war with a country that won't necessarily, if he stopped sending units out and stopping the slave trade going on, the human trafficking.
What if he didn't stop it?
Yeah, if he stopped all that kind of shit, then it'd start putting me off on the gap because he's actually.
What if he stopped? What if he stopped the? If he stopped?
No, because he sent one of the first things he did was to sign a unit to basically go out to try and stop the human trafficking and the human slavery.
Yeah.
Right. So he brought down not personally, he didn't break down, but
I've said this, isn't it? I'm going to get my SWAT team, get my vest on.
He's took
go out kicking some doors.
How many the top slave trades? He took them down. I think 3 big ones. The 3 biggest. There was a guy in India who used to
but there's a difference between putting taking responsibility for things that did he personally put the orders out?
Here's a perfect one. Israel, right? There was embassy for 11 years. The presidents have not signed it off. He come straight in and went, sign it off because you've been waiting. Why are you waiting 11 years for it? Why are you waiting all this time? Because there's something else going on behind the lines. I mean, look at the Russian deal and was it Obama?
Wait a minute though. But that might have been something that was put in by
they're all as bad as
the other government, and then another party stepped in, and that's not important to them. So it's been put on the back burner as soon as Trump got in and. His guys have been don't forget to get that signed.
Yeah, get it signed off and don't. Why are we waiting?
Yeah, well.
You know what I mean? There's that kind of stuff. It makes me.
I don't mean to blow off that aspect of it because I assure you I'm not. But you have to remember too, though, that sitting here living in the U.S., one of the biggest problems that we are about to face is an impending civil war.
Yeah.
And this guy is. And I want to be clear. I'm not saying the left isn't pushing this. I think there's tons of people on the left who are way overexciting their sides and blowing everything out of proportion. But when this guy takes and gets on a national stage and says things like that to a white supremacy group, the stand by and stand down or whatever,
is this Antifa or whatever they're called?
It doesn't matter how big how well he's treating other countries and the overall economy, because the whole thing will come down like a giant car crash if we end up in a giant civil war.
Yeah. I mean, over the years, it's looking more.
It's crazy actually.
The divide. It's sort of like us in the EU. There's such a divide, but over there you're more passionate.
Oh yeah, it's patriotism, isn't it? It's patriotism.
Yeah, exactly.
I think you guys are patriotic for your country to the extent that
it's tattooed on your bones.
Well, no, I mean, it's that you feel so passionate about your country and the way things are. Yeah, that you're willing to kind of fight for it, which is no bad thing. Yeah. Well, this is the thing with Brexit. Yeah. When we were leaving the EU, it was like we saw that in the UK. People becoming more patriotic for the UK,
and it's more sovereignty for me.
And I understand that. I mean, I understand why it's so fierce, the debates in the US
because there's such lies and such.
I think the way the country is, I think the way the world is at the moment, I think, people have been crying out for a revolution, if you like.
You know what? Yes, so true.
But this is the thing, isn't it? It's like, who's right? That's the thing.
Yeah, which team do you back?
Well, exactly.
There's only 2 teams. Which one do you back?
Yeah, well, that's the decision, isn't it?
I suppose it was like the countries in World War II. Which one do we back? Do we back Germany or do we back...
you don't back Germany.
Well, countries did back. But they did, though, didn't they? But the consequences afterwards was, you're getting this bit taken out.
It always just reminds me of that. There's a comedy duo. I don't know if you've seen it over in the States, but Mitchell and Webb. They do a show called Peep Show. But they do a sketch show. And there's a great sketch he does where he's basically like a Nazi officer and he's SS sergeant, and he goes, just been looking at our caps, and he's like, they've got skulls on, and he was like, yeah, and he was like, are we the baddies? It's like so good.
Well, it's so true in so many ways, because it only takes one thing to happen to actually make you flip your head and go, am I actually with the right? Is that actually right?
I'm defecting. I'm defecting.
Yeah, well, that's where you get the defectors, don't you?
my worry is that we're getting so far down the line that nobody wants to do that. Now, I'm gonna have to break a couple eggs to make this omelet, but stick with me on this. Yeah. So every single Friday night, I have people over to my house to spin records. We don't ever talk sports. We don't ever talk politics. We literally spin records and talk about music, and that's about it, right? So none of this shit ever comes up. So about 3 weeks ago, the subject came up, and people started to kind of go at each other at the table. And I said to people who I welcome in my home, that I feel are reasonable people, that are my friends, I said, all I would ask is that everybody just take things a little easier. Like maybe look at how is what I'm doing being perceived by others. And I got told, like, oh, no, that's, you don't have to see where anybody else is coming from. Like, we know we're right, and that's all there is to it. And it, like, to me, that's part of the problem. Like, if nobody is willing to look at themselves at all and see if they can improve at all, then we're going to keep going down this line.
Yeah. I've especially around now, I've thought that, like, how we all going to get together, because we're so individualized and so split up, and the way I'm seeing it is divide and conquer. You divided everyone, but now they're dividing families.
Well, no, everybody's such. Yeah, you're right. Everyone's so individualized through social media. Everyone's their own little entity now, aren't they?
Yeah,
it's
their own Trump. You know what I mean?
Well, it's true though, because I mean, we
vain these days.
We've got a podcast that at the end of the day, it's one of those things where. It's self-gratification, getting your likes and getting, retweets and whatnot.
Yeah.
It's, I do feel like everyone's got the own really deep-seated opinions about things, and they want to express them. So they put themselves out there on these platforms and
sometimes
stuff. I don't think
hold
it's
them back and can't express
a vanity thing a lot of the time, but I think a lot of the time it's because people want their voices to be heard, and it's an opportunity to do that. And I think
but I think it's the X factor.
The more people kind of who agree with you, then obviously the better. I mean, to be fair, It's not I wouldn't say a vanity thing, but I mean in terms of like when you've got people who use celebrity for influence. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
that's
in a good way.
Well, in a good way, that's great. But then these two extremes of that, you've got your Donald Trump, who uses his influence for political gain, business opportunity, and leave certain states in America to thrive, leave some to suffer. Only putting the attention to places that they deem and people they deem at a certain level. Votes. Yeah, because anyone below that line doesn't really matter. They're just the people who are paying taxes to keep the country going, at the end of the day. And then you get the other side of celebrity, like who try to use their influence, but what's her face
off Coca-Cola?
Like what's her name?
Trainers to doing that.
Pepper
so
Potts.
Paid for it.
Pepper Potts from Iron Man. What's she called?
She's
a celebrity who's like, she's got her, she's just sticking avocado up your ass and giving out fake, health advice.
Paltrow.
Gwyneth Paltrow. That's the one. That's the one. And it's like you have these sort of
Goop.
like, that's the one. The website, isn't it? Yeah. And I think where are the celebrities actually doing good?
No one, this is the thing.
Do you know what I mean? It's always one extreme or the other. With a pretense of being good.
No one has now that they used to have is someone to look up to. They have the person they look up to, and the people they should be looking up to.
Right,
then. Most cases.
Right. Well, we'll end the show with who's your hero? Genuine. Russ, who's your hero, mate?
Well, it actually goes right along with politics, but I want to say he's not my hero because of his politics, but my personal hero is Roger Waters from Pink Floyd.
Excellent. Yeah, excellent choice. Who's your hero, Taylor?
I don't think I've got a hero, to be honest, because every one of them got individualised and marked up to whatever grade that I think they should be. But I don't think anyone's at the top of my mark, I don't think.
I'd say the same. I couldn't think of anyone who would. I'd say Bowie, David Bowie.
You'd have to
personal
pick the
hero. And, who else? I'd say... I'll just be sat here thinking.
What about influence? Who's influenced you?
Well, there you go, David Bowie again.
Yeah.
I'll tell you my reason behind Waters, because Waters is like a super divisive figure because of his politics now. But, quick history lesson on Pink Floyd. I mean, they were signed on the back of Sid Barrett's Genius, and Roger Waters was very much just the bass player in Pink Floyd. And then when Sid's mental health deteriorated, they were just a ship without a captain, and Roger Waters literally put his nose to the grindstone, taught himself how to be a good songwriter, and ended up being the guy that wrote The Dark Side of the Moon, Wish You Were Here, The Wall, and so on. So that's why I look up to him. I just think it's amazing that he was put in this no-win situation and then
stepped up.
Yeah.
Full albums of all time.
I always look at New Order like that as well. Obviously with the death of Ian Curtis with Joy Division, and how you don't normally get a kind of you never normally get a band who were able to step up from tragedy like that, or like the lead singer or the lead songwriter exits the band for whatever reason, and then they still kind of go, right, okay, let's reevaluate and come back with something amazing. So, I appreciate that one. Tell everyone about your podcast, mate.
Yeah, we're pretty much a general music discussion podcast. We're based out of Detroit, so naturally music is a huge thing for us. Like, I live 15 minutes away from Hitsville, USA, so I can just walk into the place where, all the Motown hits of the 50s and 60s were recorded. I can just walk right in there. Excellent. 15 minutes from my house. Man. So, music's always been a big, huge deal for us, and we're just now starting to get some bigger interviews. But just week by week, we go about debating, pretty much every music topic you can think of, and we share music news, and we share the music we're listening to, and it's called the Infectious Groove Podcast. We're on all the pretty much all the servers and all the regular podcast services and whatnot. You can find us pretty much anywhere, and we're happy to do it. My big thing is I got sick of hearing people say, "Oh, there's no good rap anymore. Oh, there's no good rock anymore," or whatever.
I say that a lot.
we just want to share what we like with everybody else, and we do try and keep a positive spin too, because we could easily just go, oh, here's the 10 most overrated records of all time. But instead, we'd rather talk about, underrated, like music that's really good that people should hear. So that's
decent. Yeah. That's awesome. I love unsigned and indie bands. We used to go around quite a lot, checking out a lot of unsigned bands. And we got really into it, and ended up doing some gigs in people's houses, and just because we wanted to see these unsigned bands play, and it was just an opportunity to see them. And they'd play in our living room. It was awesome. So,
awesome.
Well, Ross, mate, thank you for coming and joining us tonight.
Man.
It's been an absolute pleasure.
It has.
And we'll catch you again sometime.
Yeah.
Right on.
Again, man.
All right, take care, mate.
All right. See you guys. Bye.
So,
So get your bums over and listen. Have a little listen to
exactly what I was about to say. And you can get anywhere you get your podcasts. And, that's about it. I think I hope you've enjoyed the show. And we'll be back we'll be back for our normal episode.
Yeah.
At the weekend. We'll be back on the campaign trail midweek next week.
Oh yeah, can't wait.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So
mint, man.
There you go. That's it. I've been Gaz.
I've been Taylor.
And that other guy was Russ.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening. And we'll catch you next time.
You will.
Peace.
Looking for a new podcast? Check out the Infectious Groove Podcast. My name is Russ, and I host the show along with Michelle and Kyle. Every Monday, the three of us bring you music news and tell you our jammy jams, so you'll always have new music to check out. The Infectious Groove Podcast discusses music from nearly every decade and genre while openly displaying our passion for music you need to hear. On top of that, we have a thought-provoking main topic of discussion every week to get you thinking, discussing, and sharing music. We also include interviews with the music stars of yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and all major podcast platforms. Subscribe and listen to the Infectious Groove podcast on your favorite podcast platform today.
Hey, yeah, so cheers, Russ, for coming in again.
Cheers,
basically, yeah, you can check Russ out, and we've got a promo here, so have a listen.
Yeah.